Joining me is Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Mr. Foreign Minister, thank you for the time. I'd like to start about the situation on the ground. There are reports, sir, that anywhere from 2,500 to more than 12,000 protesters in various cities have been killed by the regime. How many people have been killed?
Well, thank you, Brett, for having me. Demonstrations started on 28 December, yes, for the economic shortcomings, and for 10 days it was peaceful, and the government engaged with the protesters and with their leaders and tried to solve their problems. Yes, for 10 days it was peaceful, legal demonstrations and protests for economic shortcomings. But after that 10 days, for 3 days we had completely different story. A terrorist operation, when terrorist elements led from outside, entered these, protests and started to shoot, police forces, police officers, and security forces. And there were terrorist cells. They came in. They used Daesh-style terrorist, operations. They got police officers, burned them alive, they beheaded them, and they started shooting at police officers and also to the people. So as a result, for 3 days, we had, in fact, fighting against terrorists and not, with the protesters. It was completely a different story. The reason I have to explain, and this is important, why they started to shoot at people. For one reason, they wanted to increase the number of deaths. Why? Because President Trump has said that if there are killings, he would intervene. And they wanted to drag him into this conflict. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. They wanted to drag the President of the United States in this conflict. So they started to increase the number of deaths by killing ordinary people, by killing police officers, by starting a kind of, fighting inside the different cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, you're saying that these killings, these deaths are at the hands of foreign elements inside your country, not by the Iranian regime. That's not what we're being told when we get people to talk to us on the ground. The internet has been shut off, but occasionally turns back on, and we do hear from people on the ground who tell us various stories. Witnesses spoke of seeing snipers positioned on rooftops in downtown Tehran, firing into crowds of peaceful protests, turning abruptly into scenes of carnage, panic as bullets pierced through people's heads and torsos, sending bodies toppling to the ground, and an emergency room treating 19 gunshot patients in a single hour. The regime is on a killing spree, said one protester, and we've seen the video of body bags stacking up. You're saying that all of this is because you're not in control of your country and foreign elements are killing people inside your country?
No, I'm telling you that it was a fighting between our security forces and terrorist elements who had a plan to create a big number of killings in order to provoke President Trump to enter into this conflict and start a new war against Iran. And that was exactly an Israeli plot. The footages that you mentioned have not been seen in Iran. I have to tell you that a misinformation campaign is going on at the same time.
And you're suggesting that it's Israel and Mossad acting like Iranian forces, shooting the Iranian people to make casualties to spur on the action of President Trump. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that don't believe that, Mr. Foreign Minister.
No, Mossad has already confessed that.
They may be on the ground, sir, but as far as them killing hundreds and hundreds of people to make it look like you did, it does not appear in the video that we get out that this is a full level of calm. It appears that protests continue in a number of different cities. The exiled Iranian crown prince, talking to people on the ground, said this.
About 12,000 plus.
12,000 plus.
That's what we get so far. It might be more, but that's the minimum number that we know so far have been killed.
Killed by the regime. This is not arrested. This is killed.
We are talking about using military weapons, AK-47s, armored trucks to shoot to kill unarmed protesters. Their bodies are being picked up by bulldozers, and they charge each family for the bullet to be able to just retrieve the remains. It's abhorrent what's happening.
You're denying that that's happening. or you're saying it's Israel and Mossad?
Well, we are on the ground in Iran. Those, claims are baseless. There is no proof of that. The number of deaths, although they tried hard to increase the number of deaths, are only hundreds. The exact figure would be announced very soon, perhaps tonight, by our authorities.
So you're saying it's less than 1,000 people?
No, hundreds of people. I certainly, deny the numbers and figures they have said. It is an exaggeration. It is a misinformation campaign only to find excuses to do another aggression against Iran. I can tell you that now it is 4 days that everything is calm. There is no demonstration, there is no unrest, nothing in Iran for the past 4 days. Yes, there has been millions of people today for funerals, and 2 days ago, a big rally in support of the government and of the system. So people are on the streets, but in support of the Islamic Republic.
Wow,
so
that's not what we hear when we hear people on the ground.
I can refer you to the tweets and sayings and interviews by Israeli officials, American officials who have claimed themselves that Mossad agents are inside Iran, in the Iranian streets, in Tehran streets. Just look at the X, account of Mossad in Persian, who said that their agents are in Iran and that they are doing their job.
Okay, I can't push back about where Mossad agents are or not. I can say, if anybody is taunting President Trump, it is the supreme leader who took to X and posted this, saying for days now, calling President Trump a tyrant who will be overthrown. Why, if you're saying the Israeli outside forces inside your country are doing this, why would the supreme leader himself take to X and taunt the President of the United States?
Well, we were in the middle of a war started against us, and the rhetorics are quite normal in any war. We have many kind of threats by President Trump, by other American officials, by Europeans who are talking about Iranian, things in Iran. So we consider these 3 days, 8 January to 10, which we faced with a vast terrorism operation as the continuation of 12-day war that were imposed on us by Israelis and Americans. So the 13th day of war was 8 January. That was the continuation of the war. So we were in the middle of the war. And now, after 3 days of terrorist operation, now there is a calm. We are in full control. And let's, hope that wisdom would prevail and we don't go for a high level of tension, which could be disastrous for everybody.
Are you moving forward with hangings of some of the protesters, or at least one of the protesters?
No, I haven't heard about that, and there is no any hanging today or tomorrow or whatever. That's
Friday?
I can tell you, I'm confident about that. There is no plan for hanging at all.
Okay, well, you've heard the president's talk, President Trump, and you've heard his concern about crossing this red line, and you've heard him shut off communications with you because he's seen what he's seen and heard what he's heard on the ground. In fact, he was asked about this possible hanging and what the death he's seeing.
If they hang him, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very strong action. If they want to have protests, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
How do you read the president's comments over the past few days?
Well, first of all, hanging is out of the question, as I said. This is another piece of misinformation campaign that they have started to provoke President Trump and to drag him into this this question, and which could have disastrous consequences. And on your first point that you mentioned, that he cut any communication with Iran, this is not the first time You remember that we were negotiating in June when they decided to attack us. We were in the middle of negotiations. We had 5 rounds of negotiations between me and Steve Witkoff, and we had already fixed the 6th round for 15 June when in 2 days before that, they attacked us.
Because you came on this show and you said you were never going to reduce legitimate enrichment. You were never going to drop it down. You also talked about continuing a ballistic missile program. Is that continuing today? That's why the president said he was moving forward on the nuclear program that was expanding.
No, both enrichment and our defense capabilities are our legitimate rights. No, as a full and committed member of NPT, we have every right to do enrichment for peaceful purposes. And you cannot tell another country that you shouldn't exercise your right, otherwise you will be attacked.
Yeah, but Mr. Foreign Minister, we talked about this. We talked about this months ago. Are you open to direct talks with the Trump administration to try to find a solution that could de-escalate heightened regional tension after all that's happened?
Iran is still insisting on its peaceful nuclear program, including enrichment. But our position has not changed. We are still, committed not to go for nuclear weapons, but we are not ready to give up our legitimate right for peaceful use of nuclear technology, including enrichment.
Legitimate peaceful purposes. Legitimate peaceful purposes for a nuclear program usually are not buried a mile down deep. And that is where the concern was.
President Trump proved to be against diplomacy when he attacked us in June, and when now he decided to cut any communication. So if there is any real interest to engage into, to promote understanding and to understand what's going on really on the ground, he has to pay attention to the realities and not to the misinformation provided to him by those who want to drag him into another war.
Again, I go back to the Supreme Leader, who does not sound like he's anxious to sit down in talks with President Trump as a country, as he's taunting him, calling him a tyrant who will be overthrown. How do you do that and think that President Trump is going to take that as, oh, yes, I should get to the table?
No, come on. We have engaged into negotiation with the U.S. several times with the permission of the Supreme Leader. Why you say that?
Well, just posted. He posted it.
Let me tell you.
Unless you're telling me that the Ayatollah is not posting this.
Tell me, please wait. We negotiated with the United States several times, and all of them turned into a very negative experience. In 2015, we negotiated for 2.5 years. We concluded a deal, and the United States decided to withdraw with no reason and with no justification. So why we should engage into negotiation with the United States, which means, in fact, when United States talk about negotiation, it means they want dictation and not negotiation. So we have no good experience. This is a fact. Please understand.
Mr. Foreign Minister, on all of those points, the U.S. would say they came away from those talks saying that you were not pledging to do what you said you would do, and that every time they walked away from the table, they believed you were throwing it out the window as far as enrichment and solutions for that, as far as ballistic missiles, solutions for that, and as far as your role in funding terrorists around the region. Now, I don't want to belabor this point, but the Supreme Leader posted, Mr. Foreign Minister, on X numerous times about a taunting for President Trump. He's 86 years old. We have not heard from him. Is the Supreme Leader doing well in Iran? Will we hear from the Supreme Leader in this case?
No, he's doing well, and he is, in full control of the country, and people are supporting him, as everybody saw today in the funeral of those who were killed by terrorists, and 2 days ago in rally of Tehran and other cities.
Mr. Foreign Minister, by all accounts, on the outside and on the inside, when we can get it, the Iranian economy is in a free fall. That is what started a lot of these protests, despite you saying that this was started from the outside and from Israel and Mossad. our reporting is that it was started by frustrated people with the economic situation and frustrated for years of oppression from the regime.
For 10 days, it was peaceful, and it was tolerated by the government. But after that, we had 3 days of terrorism operation.
You said that, but now you're saying it's entirely peaceful.
Now, no, it is calm. There is no demonstration. There is no protest. It is for 4 days that everything is, calm.
Okay, so what do you tell, if you have a message, for President Trump, who obviously is and has talked about and is considering some kind of action to help the protesters on the ground. If you have a message for him, what is the message?
My message is, do not repeat the same mistake that you did in June. If you try a failed experience, you will get the same result. In June, you destroyed the facilities, the machines, but the technology cannot be bombed, and the determination also cannot be bombed. Now, Iran proved to be ready for negotiation, for diplomacy. We have proved that in the past 20 years, in 2015, in 2025, every time. But it was the US who always escaped from diplomacy, who cut the diplomacy and opted for war. My message is, between war and diplomacy is a better way, although we don't have any positive experience from the United States, but still, diplomacy is much better than war. But it is up to the US president to decide.
Mr. Foreign Minister, your proxies have largely been destroyed. Your nuclear program, it's called by the president, obliterated. You say the technology is still there. Your ballistic missile program is arguably on its way back, and it's being threatened to be attacked again by both Israel and the U.S. If you were to offer concessions to get back to the table, to talk, what would those concessions look like today?
The concessions is exactly as we did in 2015 in the JCPOA. We can make sure and build confidence about the peaceful nature of our nuclear program to make sure that it is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever. And in return, we expect that the sanctions are lifted. Ballistic missiles is our means of defense and the most reliable means of defense, and it is not negotiable. Why we should negotiate on our ballistic missiles when we need them for our security and for our defense? Proxies, I think it's a wrong, it's a mistake to call them proxies. We don't have proxies in the region. They are.
You've been funded.
No, they are movements who are fighting with occupation, who are fighting for their rights, and we only support them. We only support them. They are not doing any job for us. They are fighting. They are fighting for their own, causes, and we support their cause.
Well, Mr. Foreign Minister, we appreciate the time. There are a lot of people concerned and want you to say that the Iranian regime's killing of protesters will stop.
I think you have to find the elements who made these killings outside of Iran. And there are many, evidences to that. We can show you. So it is all a kind of Israeli plot, which is now failed, and I hope that President Trump would not build on that failed attempt by Israelis.
And will the Ayatollah, will we hear from him, besides the tweets taunting the president?
Well, I think I have already answered that.
Okay. Mr. Foreign Minister, we appreciate the time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.